What is up, YouTube? It is your boy Carlton Stevens, aka CJ Does Gaming, and we are back at it again with another reaction video, man. This one is not like my usual videos. This isn't a funny video or nothing. This is a scary stories video, man. I saw the first picture of the first picture in the video, man, and I'm already not messing with this, man. I posted it on Twitter, man. Go check out my Twitter if you want to see what the picture is before the video, or you could just wait 5 seconds. But anyways, guys, I'm not really looking forward to the first story. I don't know, it might not be that bad. I haven't heard it at all. I haven't watched any bit of this video, man. This video's damn near 2 hours long, but I'm not gonna watch the whole thing. Might watch maybe 14, 15 minutes of it, then make another part until, make parts until I finish it. But we're not gonna do this consecutively, because I gotta watch some funny shit after this, so I can, get over it if it's as bad as I think it might be. But hopefully it's not that bad, man. I watched some of these, like some of them aren't that bad, but I don't know about this one, y'all. So without further ado, let's get into this video. Bop.
This video is a combination of stories from a video that Corpse Husband narrated for us a little while ago, but was taken down, as well as stories your maker and I recorded from Brosgram. Enjoy!
I was about 3 years old
picture?
at the time. My brother was 5. Our parents were going through a divorce, so my grandparents offered to look after me and my brother until the divorce was final, so that we weren't caught up in the mess. My grandparents' anniversary was coming up, so my grandmother thought it'd help our mother take her mind off things to spend some time with us so she could relax. She and my grandfather went out for the evening and left me and my brother home with our mother for the night. Things seemed to be going good at first, nothing out of the ordinary. It was starting to get a bit late, and my brother and I were sitting on the living room floor watching television. After a while, she asked if we had heard anything, and I remember we both looked at her and she had this worried look on her face. She muted the television for a moment to listen, and we started hearing noises coming from our basement. It was the sound of our bathroom door in our basement swinging open and closed again. It sounded like someone had just walked into the bathroom and slammed the door. But that couldn't be possible, seeing as how me, my older brother, and our mom were the only ones in the house at the time. Mom dismissed it at first, reasoning that the house was just old, and old houses usually make strange noises. So we went back to watching television again for a while.
Y'all crazy.
After about an hour or so had passed, it was around 8 o'clock, almost time for my brother and I to go to bed. Mom muted the television again and told us to be quiet. We listened for a minute and didn't hear anything at first. Then after a while, we began to hear the sound of pounding coming from the basement just under the living room floor. It was soft at first, but as it went on, it got louder and louder. The sound encircled the living room almost like a shark circling in on its prey. It got closer to where my brother and I were sitting as it circled around us, growing louder and louder, until it finally sounded like someone was banging on the living room floor under us with their fists, trying to break through the floorboards. Me and my brother jumped up onto the couch and huddled ourselves close around our mom, who was curled up on the couch and was just as scared as we were. The sounds of the pounding slowly subsided. Mom frantically dialed the restaurant where my grandfather said he and my grandmother would be. After a while, my grandfather picked up and asked what was wrong. Mom told him what we were hearing. My grandfather is still a firm skeptic. He doesn't believe in ghosts. He told her it was probably just the pipes rattling, and that she was just under a lot of stress from the divorce, and her imagination was running away from her. He then told her to be sure to have us in bed by 9 o'clock, and he would see us in the morning, and he hung up.
In the morning?
Minutes went by, and we were still huddled together on the couch.
Y'all are fucking up.
Mom did her best to stay calm and hold herself together for me and my brother, saying that Granddad was probably just right. It was an old house after all, so we just went back to watching television, trying to take our minds off of the situation before we had to go to bed. I'm not exactly sure what happened next, but a strong feeling of fear came over my mom as she turned off the television. I could see it in her eyes as my brother and I both looked back at her. We sat there in silence for only a moment. The air was dead quiet. Then the banging started up again, louder than ever. It sounded like someone was frantically trying to break through the floor in a fit of rage. Mom picked up the phone and dialed the restaurant again, but the phone wasn't working. She picked us up both from the floor and pushed us into the main hall and ran to the kitchen to get us our coats from the chair at the end of the table next to the basement door. Suddenly, me and my brother both heard what sounded like a set of heavy combat boots stomping up from the basement stairs and a hair-raising slam against the basement door.
I would have never even been in this situation because I'd have been going at the first noise.
To get out, but we then heard a tumbling noise as if someone had thrown a chair down the basement stairs.
Okay, Mom didn't waste a second in getting us the hell out of the front door. She practically threw us outside. There would be no story because I'd have been out the house
until our grandparents returned home. Our grandmother's car finally pulled into the lot at the top of our street, and my grandfather saw that we were sitting in our mom's car, and he got angry. He demanded to know why we weren't in bed before they returned home. Mom told them everything. You could just tell by the way she spoke that she was shaken. My brother and I confirmed everything she said, but our grandfather had none of it. He went up to the locked room on the second floor and grabbed a pistol from the gun cabinet and demanded my mom follow him to the basement so that he could show her that there was absolutely no one else in the house. But she refused to follow him into the basement. Of course, after checking everything over, nothing was found to be broken, so there couldn't have been anyone else in the house. Our grandmother didn't need convincing. She had always believed in ghosts. She had stories of her own encounters with the paranormal. But either way, Mom never spent another night in her grandparents' house alone after that. To this day, she refuses to stay after dark. My brother is 30 now and I'm 28. Our grandmother has since passed away, and our grandfather's health hasn't been what it should be. So I stay with him and I look after him. To this day, I don't know who or what was in our basement that night. I hope I never find out. But every time my grandfather asks me to go down in the basement to get something for him, I always get the feeling that there's someone watching me down there. And every time I go down there, the bathroom door on the far side of the basement is always open. No matter how many times I close it, every time I go down there, that goddamn door is always open. A little update on this story. I've looked into the history of my grandfather's house where this event took place. As it turns out, several of the previous owners had died on the property. One person had a heart attack and died in his sleep in one of the bedrooms on the second floor. A second person had died of a blood clot in her brain in our living room. And the third, being the original owner of the house when it was first built in 1911, had fallen down the basement stairs and broke his neck against the wall of the foundation. Could this have been him in our basement?
Junior year of high school, my parents got a job offer out of state, and so I was forced to move all across the country.
Look at this nigga.
I started a new school late into the academic year, mid-March, and had a hard time fitting into the new school.
What the fuck is this?
All I wanted was to make a friend, but was too shy to talk to anyone. It was around this time that my friends left MySpace to join Facebook, so I did the same to keep close to them. Some days later, I received a friend request from David.
Oh my God.
David was a guy that I had been friends with in my old town. Well, he wasn't exactly my friend, but rather the friend of another friend. My friend Jerry had introduced me to the group and would bring him along every time all of us hung out. We knew that David was a year older than us and that he had gone to a different school, but other than that, we didn't really know anything about him. In fact, we kind of always just referred to him as Jerry's friend because he never even bothered to talk to any of us. So when I received a friend request from him on Facebook, I was more than confused. He had hardly spoken to me when I had lived near him, so for him to want to be friends with me after all of this time just seemed a little strange. But I was so lonely and desperate for friends that I didn't care. Other than that, nothing really seemed off about him, at least not at the time. Looking back, I do remember that he had hardly any pictures or friends when I first accepted his request, but like I said, this was around the time that people had just started using Facebook, so it didn't seem all that weird for him to have such a barren profile.
It took me like
and over the years, his friends list got a lot bigger, even more so than mine, so I really didn't think anything of it. But anyway, I digress. I accepted his friend request, and it was just like this that David and I became friends.
Use Facebook anymore.
He told me that he had just started university and that he was lonely because he was too shy to make friends. I told him that I was having a hard time in my new school for the same reasons, and we bonded over that. Little by little, we started talking more. He shared his problems with me and I shared mine with him. And when it was time for me to apply to university, he even helped me out. He taught me how to sign up for my SATs, ACTs, helped me apply to scholarships, and even paid for one of my application fees using a Visa gift card, so I didn't receive any of his personal information, and he didn't receive any of mine.
Okay.
Then, when I finally started university, he helped me with all that as well. He told me where to buy books, gave me studying tips, provided emotional support. So when he asked for my phone number, I didn't even hesitate to give it to him.
Fucking up.
David was my best friend, and I wanted to keep him close, even if we were physically away from each other.
At your house with a knife.
It was around this time that David started sharing more of his life with me, and all of it was pretty normal stuff. He had a job at Pizza Hut, which he hated but needed to keep in order to pay for bills. He also played soccer, but not for his university or anything. It was just a group of guys that got together on the weekends to unwind. I think the biggest thing he told me was that he had flunked out of university and that I was the only one that knew because he was too embarrassed to tell anyone else. And at one point, he also had to move back in with his mom, which he hated a lot.
We get the fucking point. It's a long ass backstory,
3 years into our friendship, my family decides to take a trip back to the city where we had lived prior to moving all across the country, and I excitedly tell him and all of my old high school friends. Most of them were pretty excited about the idea of us all hanging out together again, because after high school we had all just gone our different ways. But when I contacted David about it, he showed little interest in hanging out with us. I thought it was weird. You know, I wasn't some stranger he had met online, but rather someone who had been in his life for many years. He kept insisting and asking for a reason, and then he finally gave me one. He told me that his pictures had been heavily edited and that he was afraid of disappointing me if we met in real life. I told him that it didn't matter what he looked like and that I just wanted to meet him, but he still didn't want to hang out. Instead, he just started being a huge dick to me. He knew exactly what buttons to push, knew all of my insecurities and secrets, and had started using all of that knowledge to hurt me. So I just stopped talking to him. Some weeks later, I meet my friends as planned. And much to my surprise, I see David there.
Oh shit.
Looking just like he did on his pictures. I didn't understand why he had lied about photoshopping his pictures or why he had said he didn't want to meet me only for him to show up at our friend's house. But I was so angry at him that I didn't ask any questions. I just kept waiting for an apology, but David wouldn't approach me. He was treating me like he treated me back when we were in high school. I was really upset, but given that he had been such a huge dick to me, I just figured that this was just another attempt at getting under my skin. We were all drinking and talking about what we were up to, and when it was his time to share, he pretty much just said the same things I already knew about him. He said that he wished he was still in university like the rest of us, but that he had flunked out and he was just living with his mom. Said that he was miserable there and that he wanted to move out, but that his job at Pizza Hut wasn't paying him enough for him to move out on his own. At this point, though, I was already pretty pissed off, and the alcohol had given me enough courage to finally ask him why he had been ignoring me. He apologized, but admitted that he hardly remembered me, which hurt my feelings, but also pissed me off even more. I told him about Facebook and about our text messages, and he just kept insisting that he didn't use Facebook.
Oh shit.
Apparently, he had used MySpace at one point, but had stopped using that when he had switched over to Tumblr. A Facebook account was something that he hadn't even considered making. I asked him about the text messages, and he just said that I had probably confused him with another David because he had never even had my number. I thought that denying it was a lousy excuse, but Jerry backed him, which pisses me off even more. The thing, though, was that David hadn't just been talking to me on Facebook, but also to a bunch of us. So when we kept calling him out on his shit, he just told us to text this David guy to prove that it wasn't him. He set his phone on the table and I texted him, but no new messages appeared on his phone. Then, while we're all arguing how we need to give it some time, the David that I had been talking to for years responds, proving that we had been talking to a fake all along.
Wow.
Things turned pretty awkward at this point, with all of us feeling angry and betrayed, and David obviously feeling extremely violated. So with all of us wanting answers, we open up our friend's laptop and search for David's profile on Facebook. The first thing that David points out is that whoever this was, they were using his mother's maiden name and not his real last name. And that while most of the people on his friends list were people that he knew in real life, none of them were people that he had kept in contact with. His display picture was also of a dog, which he owned years ago, but had died since then, just like the fake David had told me. All measures that, looking back, I'm guessing were used by this person to keep David's close friends from actually finding him on Facebook. The older pictures on Facebook had been taken from his MySpace back when he had still been using that, but most of the newer ones had been taken from his Tumblr, which he apparently uploaded pretty often.
This is scary, this is creepy.
The weirdest thing, though, was there was some pictures he swore he had never seen before. These were all pictures of his soccer games taken from the audience, which the fake David had said his brother had taken. The real David said his brother never went to his games, neither did any of his family members or friends. Further exploring his own fake profile, David pointed out that while a bunch of status updates were things that never happened, a lot of them were accurate. Whoever this person was, they had been watching David for a long time. They knew his schedule, knew what movies he went to, knew what kind of ice cream flavors he liked, knew his favorite bands, knew practically everything about him. We did confront fake David, but he never answered the text messages and instead deleted the profile before we had the chance to examine it further.
Of course he did.
So we never did get any answers. I don't know why that person pretended to be David for so long, or why he even did it in the first place. All I know is that I felt extremely violated for having shared so many private details of my life with him.
He paid some
and of course, I also felt a great deal of pity for the real David.
So
I wondered for the longest time how this person found him and how they managed to learn so many private details of his life. Then, a few months back, my mother calls me saying that she found a profile with her name, but my picture's on it. My middle name is my mom's first name, something that very few people know. She thought that I had made a second profile and I didn't tell her the truth because I didn't want to scare her, but the truth was that I didn't even know that profile existed. I have always kept Facebook set to private and I no longer accept random friend requests, nor do I post my pictures anywhere else. So this profile only had really old pictures of me and nothing weird like David's soccer game pictures. But it was still active and had been active for a while.
Same dude, probably.
This is a true story, folks. As much as I'd like to be a writer,
well, guys, I'm gonna have to end the video right here. That story was longer than I expected it to be. I thought maybe I would be able to get 3 stories in, but I will be doing a part 2 to this video sometime soon. I don't know if it'll be what's today? Thursday. It's probably not gonna be Sunday, but we'll see. I don't know. I might change it up and make part 2 for Sunday's video. Because today is Thursday, right? And tomorrow is my gaming video, and I don't post videos on Saturdays. So maybe Sunday will be part 2. We'll see. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Hit that like button, comment, favorite, subscribe, do all that good stuff. I really appreciate you for watching the video, man. Peace.
Yeah. Jumpin'. Them boys up to something. They just spent like 2 or 3 weeks out the country. Them boys up to something, they just not just bluffing. You don't have to call, I hit my dance like Usher. Ooh, I just found my tempo like on DJ Mustard. Ooh, I hit that Ginobili with my left hand, though, like.